of the most generous. Hello everyone, welcome to the HMRP Science Channel. Today we're going to talk about a fundamental tissue in human's body. We're going to talk about central nervous system. So at the first, let's explore which parts is our nervous system made from. Imagine that dream that I keep having about falling over a building or eating something that I love it in sleep. That every one of us have faced with those dreams at least once in our life. Or imagine the psychological and physical acts like lifting a bag or designing a very beautiful shirt that we are facing with every day. Or even those thoughts, the things that we process and remember every day using our subconscious. Just like some of communications with the other people around us, or something like new language structure. For example, I'm processing some word, just like what I'm doing right now. I'm processing some word and using these structures that I have learned already, making some sentences to present to the audience in front of me, and this kind of stuff. So, and I guess you love this topic because it's more efficient in subject of improvement of cognitive abilities, some parts of communications with the other people, and being more professional in facing with complicated and tough topics in our life, or learning something new. And also, we're going to talk about the function and procedures to improve our nervous system. So, our nervous system may boil down into two main parts: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system includes our brain or spinal cord or brainstem, which include some messages which are voluntary and involuntary, or somatic and autonomic, and sends messages to the different parts of our body, like muscles, different organs of our body, and this kind of stuff. And also, our brainstem and our spinal cord are more efficient for involuntary acts. So, peripheral nervous system is another part which it may boil down by itself into two main parts else: motor division and sensory division. Just imagine that it's today you're going to school, and it's cold. You say, "Oh, what a cold air! What a cold day!" And you say, you touch yourself. This kind of stuff. And the sensation of cold air, for example, in your skin, is from sensory division from your peripheral nervous system. And motor division. Just imagine that you're sitting down somewhere, and some mosquitoes come and a mosquito comes and sits down on your hand, and suddenly your brain sends a message to your muscle in your hand part, and says, "Hey, hand, how about you do something about that mosquito which is sitting down on your hand? Do you want to run around and get up and run around and scream and yell, or do you want to sit down like this and consciously do something about it?" This kind of stuff. You're conscious about it. So, motor division from peripheral nervous system have two parts of actions: voluntary or somatic, and involuntary or autonomic actions. Voluntary actions, just like lifting a bag, or those examples which we had, or walking around, or writing, that actions that we're conscious about them. In our nervous system, from the fibers which are scattered around our body. And involuntary or autonomic motor division, which keeps your lungs breathing, your heart beating, and your stomach churning, and you're not conscious about them. And the messages which our brain and our central nervous system sends to the other parts of our body, which are involuntary. So, let's pause it a moment. Those all were examples of what our central nervous system does. And I don't exaggerate if I say those all were the actions which were processed and executed by some chemical and electrical signals to and from our nervous cells. And it's actually more interesting that just to give you a rough order of magnitude, that there are thousands of connections with the other surrounding neurons by a neuron in our nervous tissue. And it shows us that connections are so important to learning, memorizing, and adaptive behavior. So we have a professional procedure in our nervous system entitled long-term potentiation, also known as LTP. LTP is a substrate to learning, memorizing, and adaptive behavior. Apparently, you're asking yourself, what is adaptive behavior? Just imagine that a person who lives in urban environment, like a big city. That person may have some habits every day, necessary activities, just like studying, going to the job, driving, and this kind of stuff. that person in that condition, we have some factors which may forcing that person to go and live in jungle and forest. For example, that person goes to the forest and following that, and thus that person may learn some new skills to survive in that environment, and that person may change. For example, that person may go to find out some food to surviving and being alive, or that person may learn new skills to defend himself against the animals in the jungle and survive in that environment. And it shows us that person may adapt himself with the environment which is living in. And imagine suddenly that person goes back to the city. So the person may change again and adopt again. And instead of going to find out food in jungle, that person goes to the job. Or instead of dedicating a part of day to actually going to find food or defending himself against the dangers around in like animals in jungle, that person may study or drive or this kind of stuff. And that person may adopt himself again with the environment and the space which is living in. Or for instance, every person, every individual in our society, people have their own personal psychological individuality, which gives them their own characteristics, their own personal characteristics and properties in their personality. So, the last debate we are dealing with is how to improve our nervous system using LTP. LTP is a substrate to learning, memorizing, and adaptive behavior that I explained to you. And it's more associated with the connections within our neurons in our nervous tissue. By some activities, LTP may reinforce and strengthen the connections between neurons. Something like increasing the amount of neurotransmitters within the neurons, or increasing the amount of or reinforcing the metabolic receptors between the neurons in synaptic space. And these kind of activities, LTP may reinforce the connections. And what should we do about it to reinforce the connections? Using this procedure, LTP, we gotta face with the things that they seem hard and apparent. For example, a concept in physics. If we engage our brain and involve our brain to find out what is it about and to understand it, or some activities like learning a new language and this kind of stuff, or doing something in a way that we're not familiar with. For example, getting rid of a bad habit, quitting an addiction, just like smoking and this kind of stuff, or behavioral addictions, just like eating water while eating food. It's not good for digestive process of our stomach. So we say we gotta change the way of doing some things that we're familiar with. For example, you eat water with your right hand, eat with your left hand. Or you are engaging with some mathematics, so it's good. It may progress your brain. So predominantly, the bulk of persons in that condition may feel sleepy and this kind of stuff when we are having our first major encounter with the topics which are hard. But that's because of the glucose which our brain may consume more in that condition. And totally, we say, changing and making some differences between the acts that we do every day and we're familiar with, and changing the procedure of doing something may help us to reinforce LTP procedure in our brain and nervous system. And totally reinforcing an improvement may cause to improvement of our physical ability in facing with the complicated topics in our life. Good luck.